Hey everybody, I hope that the reunion is going amazing and things are just incredible in terms of your interaction and what's happening there. I am coming to you again because as I was driving this morning, I just felt a download from the Lord for you. We made our hello video with Isa and Juvie yesterday and sent that off and thought I was done and I'm just going about my day today. And literally just my heart started burning with a message for you that I feel like would be an encouragement. And it's awesome because here I'm in the Philippines in our office right now, and we're already planning to do some recording. So my team already had everything set up. And anyway, here we go. Here's a message for you that I believe is from the Lord. It's based on a lot of things that I've also been learning myself and growing in and also teaching on. But the way it came was very succinct in terms of a message and an encouragement for you, and specifically at the reunion. Hopefully you've watched the hello video, and I mentioned in there about our relationship that we have with our past, our present, and our future. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't normally think about relationship in terms of, a relationship with my past and a relationship with my future or even my present. But yesterday it started clicking for me and I started thinking about it. And because when we think about a relationship, what do we normally think about? We think about a relationship that we have with a person, right? With a friend, with family members, romantic relationships, whatever. When we say relationship, that's usually what comes into our mind. But the truth is we have relationships not just with people, but we have relationships with things. We have relationships with time. We have all different relationships, because what is a relationship? It's how we think, it's how we feel, it's how we interact with another person, with an entity. An example is you might have a car and you love this car, and when you think about the car and you wash it and you take really good care about it and you love it, that's your relationship with that car. You love it. You might have another car that you've had or have right now that you hate, you don't like, you want a different one. You're like, oh, that car. And so you don't have a very good relationship. Why? Because of what you're thinking about the car, what you're feeling about the car. We would say that's not such a great relationship. Just trying to give an example of a relationship with an object. So another thing to think about is that we all have relationship with time. And specifically, I want to talk about our relationship that we have with our past and our present and our future. Now, our mind is an incredible tool God's given us. And I've been meditating on this a lot more. And, we know the scriptures that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he, and that the Bible tells us to renew our minds so that we can be transformed. There's so much in the Bible about our thought process. And for me, I feel like in this last season of my life, I'm going to a whole nother level of revelation in understanding things like, how to actually capture it. The Bible says, take every thought captive. Well, how do we do that? When we take a thought captive, then what do we do with it? The Bible talks about what argues against the truth, and there's arguments that are happening, and all these different things are things I've been meditating on. So our mind is an incredible tool in terms of how we think, and our thought process then produces feelings inside of us. You can test it. You can think any thought and then feel what feeling that brings to you. Some thoughts are from scarcity, some thoughts are from abundance, some are from empowerment, some are from disempowerment, and really assessing what's going on and what does that thought produce, what feeling does it produce in our life. It's transformative. And I know I'm walking through a journey that's really transforming me and taking me to a whole nother level. I always want to go to a new level. I always want to learn more. And so in our mind, and again, I think it's good to really remember that our mind is not who we are. It's a tool. It's a faculty God's given us. The essence of who we are is deeper. It's stronger. We're spiritual. The essence of us is deeper than just our thoughts. So therefore, that means that we actually do have control over our thoughts, and to assess them and to find out what's going on. And thoughts produce feelings. Feelings then produce actions, and actions will then produce the results in our life. So in our mind, right, we have our memory, we have our imagination, and the memory is the main faculty in terms of how we have relationship with the past. We talk about the memory, it's always things of the past, right? It's how we think, it's how we feel about the past, whether it's on a conscious level or it's on a subconscious level. And the truth is, the majority of what's going on in our thought process, in our feeling, it's subconscious. It's under the current. We're not thinking about it all the time. It's just happening. We've learned through the years, we've learned patterns, we've learned ways of thinking, we've learned how to perceive things. Now, this could be good or bad, it could be empowering. empowering or disempowering, but a lot of stuff we just adopt and we go with because it's what we've learned over the years. And our brain, our mind just likes to kind of take that path, learn something, and then stay in that same path. That's why if there's something that's not empowering in our life, it's important that we first find out what we're really thinking, what we're really feeling, and what it's producing, and not put blame on anyone else or any other circumstance or let something else say, I feel this way because of what happened. No, we feel and we think because of what we're thinking, and we actually have the power of choice over our thoughts. I've got more teaching on that, but I just want us to think about our relationship with our past, and that it's primarily in our memory, our relationship with our future. We do that through our imagination. What are we seeing? What are we picturing? What are we thinking about the future? The future could just be in a few hours from now, right? It could be tomorrow, the to-do list that we have for tomorrow, things that need to get done. That's all like in the imagination. We think through that. We're not there in that moment, but through the faculty of our imagination, we can see tomorrow, maybe not clearly everything that will happen, but we have an idea. We have things that we want to get done, things that we know need to happen. And that could be, in months, it could be in years or in decades in our life. We have this powerful tool called the imagination. And of course, our relationship with the present is what we're feeling, what we're thinking, what we're experiencing in this present moment. And the present moment just keeps marching forward, And so those are the three things. So let's look at our relationship with the past. Incredibly important what our relationship is with the past. Our relationship is made up of things that we think, things that we feel. And so when we look at the past, when we remember the past, what are we thinking about it? What are we feeling about it? There's times, let's use the times where it's been challenging in the past, or there's been something that's painful in the past, because the good stuff and the success in the past is usually a little bit easier to process through. But our relationship with the past, especially those things that have been challenging, or the disappointments, or the stuff that didn't quite work out on our journey, we have a relationship with it. And that is what we are thinking and what we are feeling about it. Now, often with the stuff that's challenging, we wish it was different. We wish it had happened a different way. We wish we'd made a different choice. We wish other people had made another choice, all of those things. And when we stay in that mindset of like, why did that happen? Or I wish I hadn't done that. Or couldn't it have been different? Or what if it had been different? What if it had been that way? I like to call that looping. Our mind is just looping, whether conscious or subconscious, it's just looping. And there's no production from it. It's usually, maybe it is producing something. It's just producing pain and frustration, but it's not helping us move forward. And a concept that I learned recently, and I'm applying it to my life as it comes up, is this concept: don't argue with the past. What does that mean? Don't argue with the past. Arguing with the past is something like, why did that happen? And if I had done something different, or if somebody else had done something different, then my life would be different right now. That's arguing with the past. Wishing it was different, trying to figure out a different way it could have happened. That's arguing. That's questioning the past. And it's a loop that leads nowhere. So you know what we need to do? How do we settle the past, and how do we think in our present and in our future? We say the past happened exactly as it was meant to happen. The good, the bad, the ugly, the challenges, the disappointment, the pain, the hurt, the success, the joys, our choices, everything. We say it happened exactly as it was meant to happen. And how do we know that? How do we know that things happened, especially the bad stuff, especially the hard stuff, the painful stuff? How do we know that it happened exactly as it was meant to happen? Because it did. Because it's exactly what happened. If you think about it, you can't change it. What happened, right? It's there. That is unchangeable. And thinking and wishing it was different gives us nothing. Regretting a decision, trying to figure out if we'd done something different, would my life be different now? It's useless. It's a useless use of our mind and our memory. Instead, we say it happened exactly as it was meant to happen. And from there, I can learn lessons. From there, I can grow. From there, I can evaluate my own thoughts and feelings. And the truth is, it's the challenges of life that actually give us the greatest opportunity for growth. When we don't just say, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't feel this way. Instead, we say, that happened. What's the thought process that I'm going through? I take full responsibility for my feelings. My feelings are not dependent on something else that happened, something that somebody did, on my past. My feelings actually are dependent on what I'm thinking. Incredible, really. If we get the real truth of this and the real revelation of it. Why? Because I can't change the past. Why is this powerful? Because when I put all the power of my feelings and the power of those things into my past. The past has all the control, and the past is not change. It's not changeable. But when I say I have the power over my thoughts, and what happened happened exactly as it was meant to happen, now I can go from here. Now I can grow. Now I can evaluate. Now I can see what thoughts I'm thinking, what feelings those are producing in my life. Incredible. And of course, with the past, the relationship we want to have with the past too, in terms of things that were successful, and in terms of like training that we got, and we're celebrating, and remembering all the amazing stuff that happened in the First Wave Army. I mean, a useful use of the mind and of the memory is to draw on the lessons learned, to draw on the things that were imparted and things that were put into the spirit. And we draw from that, not to live in the past, not to say, oh, I wish it was like it was, but to say, wow, I'm drawing on that, and that's inside of me. It's in me, and it's producing in my life, and I can put it into my present, and I can use those things to have a greater future. So think about your relationship with the past, and as it comes up in your life, what you can always work through, and I've done this for so many years with people, is what you're thinking and what you're feeling, and the story that you tell yourself, the story that you tell about the past. And I'm learning now about and teaching about the difference between scarcity thoughts and abundance thoughts. Evaluate a thought and see where it's coming from. Is it coming from scarcity, or is it coming from abundance? I'll share with you a little bit more about that. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is our relationship with the future, right? And this is primarily in our imagination. How we see, how we picture, and how we think about the future. The Bible says that God will do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask, think, or imagine. So different translations say imagine, translate it as imagine, and some versions of the Bible say think. So what we think and what we imagine is the same, right? So sometimes some of us think more like in words or in feelings. Other people think more in pictures. However you think, it's fine, but that's all part of the imagination working. And I've been focusing on this understanding of imagination as well, and teaching on it. And I think our imagination is one of the most wasted tools that God's given us. It's like here, he gave us this tool of imagination, and the majority of us, we waste it. How do we waste it? We waste it by letting it think of all the worst case scenarios, the negative that could happen, the what ifs and the negatives that could happen. And our mind spins in those things. If I told you, and if I said to you that you can have anything that you imagine, you can have anything. Let's just do a mind exercise, right? If you imagine it, you can have it. Would you imagine the worst case scenario? Would you imagine your loved one getting cancer? Because if you imagine it, it's what's going to happen. Would you imagine an earthquake that wipes everybody out? Would you imagine financial loss? No. Like if we really understood if what we imagine will be produced in our life, then we would then make the practice of imagining the things that we want to create. Now, of course, imagining doesn't just give us everything that we want. It's not just that. I'm just saying, as an exercise, why would we let our minds loop yet again in negativity, in worry? And what if this happens? And what if this happens with my kids? And what if da-da-da-da-da? It's like the worst case scenario. And so we're using our imagination not for creation, not for creating what we want, but instead just letting it be wasted in useless thinking. So I think something that's so important in the relationship that we have in our future is, what do we want? What do we want to create? What has God put in our heart? What's the desires that are there? What's the path of creation that we're already on? And you might say, well, what about the bad stuff? Yeah, you know what? Bad stuff is going to happen. We can just accept that. We can't argue with that. It's going to happen. The challenges are going to happen. Everything that we imagine doesn't just automatically come. It's just the first step. After we imagine, then we have to look at the action steps and things to actually create what's in our imagination. But why not use that tool to intentionally imagine and to create the things that we are wanting to see in our lives and in our future? Again, it can be as simple as just wanting to see how to get your day done. And then, if a challenge happens or a disappointment comes, then you use your imagination, you use your the power of what's in your heart and your mind to then work through that challenge. But we use the imagination for production and creativity. It's amazing. So, and the last thing I want to talk about is our relationship with our present, where we're living right now. And, if we live too much in the past or we live too much in the future, then we're not actually enjoying the present, right? We've got to draw from the lessons of the past, and we should imagine an amazing future of what we want to create. But at the same time, we should be living fully present in the moment, fully present with the people that we're with, fully present with the work that we're doing, fully present in the ministry that we're in what is happening in our life right now. And it's like embracing everything. It's embracing the joys, it's embracing the sadnesses, it's embracing the success, it's embracing the challenges. Whatever life has brought you, wherever you're at right now, I encourage you that the relationship that you have with the present is one to fully enjoy it. Don't deny it. Don't push it away. Don't, try to avoid what's going on. Embrace, take it in. Again, that includes the things that are challenges in our life. It includes the successes, includes the joys, everything, every capacity of it, where we live fully in this moment. We're not letting our minds go off into other things and be living in another world all the time, trying to avoid the world that we are in. This is where we're at. Like, don't argue with it, right? Accept it. This is where I'm at. Yes, I'm on my journey and I'm going forward, but I'm right here and I'm right now, and I'm choosing truth thinking. I'm choosing thoughts that are going to empower me, things that are going to lead me into a greater place. So I hope that that's encouraging to you. I had a situation happen to me recently while I was last year, where I was in a place. I was actually in the country of Turkey, and because of doing ministry in the Ukraine quite a bit, I traveled through Turkey, and I had this amazing little villa that I rented for very cheap, and I'm overlooking one of the beautiful cities there out to the sea, and just enjoying it so much, just enjoying. But in the midst of enjoyment, I had this thought that I never registered before. And the thought was this: I just can't get enough. Maybe you've said that. I think it's a phrase that we often say when it means like, I love something so much, I just can't get enough of it. And it's not necessarily, that's not bad. It's a good thing in some capacities, it's good. But for me, when I isolated that one thought, I can't get enough. And then I thought, what do I feel when I think that thought? The feeling wasn't empowerment. It was more like a little bit of a panic, a little bit of like, I have to take it as much in as I can because tomorrow I'm not going to have. And I thought, this thought is not empowering me. It's actually producing something that's a disempowerment in my life. And I realized that that's a thought that comes from scarcity. Right? It's a scarcity thought. And so I thought, I'm going to practice something, and I'm just going to try on another thought. I'm going to see something that it has to feel true. Like, we can't just I'm not talking about positive thinking here. I'm talking about finding a thought that feels true, whether maybe the Lord gives it to us, or it's one that we just make a choice to find something else where it feels true to us. It's a real believable thought, but it produces a better feeling in our life. And so I just made a small adjustment. Instead of saying, I can't get enough, I said, I can get enough. I can get enough today, and tomorrow I can get more, and the next day I can get more. And why? Because enough is in me, because God is in me, because enough is in here. Wow, I felt my whole being just settle. And it was just a change. It was a minor tweak. I couldn't get enough was coming from scarcity. I can get enough, and I can get more tomorrow, and I can learn what I need to. And all of those things, that comes more from abundance. Why? Because it gives me a more empowered feeling. And I know that enough is inside of me, and He is inside of me. And so I just wanted to just give that to you. I hope it blesses you. I hope you can take something away from this, and that you can really evaluate and be self-aware of what your relationship is with your past, what your relationship is with your present, what your relationship is with your future. And you do that by finding out what thought you're thinking, what it's producing in your life, and then finding something. If it's not a thought that's producing the abundance, it's not a thought that's empowering you, it's not a thought that's helping you move forward and embrace your life, then change the thought. Change it. Find something that's more believable, something that's better. Sometimes we just have to take increments of steps. I don't want you to just say, oh, by faith, I'm going to think this, and I know I should be thinking this, because that is fine. It's like, it's okay, but it doesn't seem to work, because if we're trying to think something, but something else is in the undercurrent fighting against it, I find that it's just frustrating, right? We've got to be able to find a thought that actually is believable to us, it's true for us, and we can increment ourselves forward in those. And we can be moving toward abundance, abundant thinking, thinking from abundance, thinking from empowerment. So everybody be blessed. And I just release the presence of God and the glory of heaven upon you. Let his presence fill you. And in all of your areas of your heart and mind and soul, be filled with his empowerment and his abundance. Much love to all of you.